This episode is brought to you by our great host, Anchor. It's the best podcasting host we've ever had, and it's got to be the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you why. First of all, it is free. No charges at all for hosting your podcast. Also makes distributing your podcast so easy to all the major platforms with just a click of a button. And the best part of all is that you can make money from your podcast. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. This thing's got everything you need to make a podcast all in one place.
Dave, can I tell you a little bit of something about persistence?
I would love to hear about persistence.
Okay, so let me tell you a little quick story. I want to get, obviously, to the show. We've got a big show ahead of us. I had a pest in my backyard, and it was a raccoon. It was getting into my garbage and everything like that. So I finally I had a cage for it that could trap it, a pest trap. So one night I put it out. I caught it. So it was like 10:30 at night. I was like, all right, cool. I'll bring it in the morning, free it in the woods somewhere else, and that'll be it. Woke up the next morning, it was gone. Got out of the cage. A couple days later, caught it in the middle of the day. I pick it up, start taking it out. It escapes as I'm taking it to like the garage, to make sure it doesn't get out, like to brace it against. Yes, son of a bitch. And then third time, I caught an opossum. I couldn't do anything with that. Let it go. And then finally, I gave up for a while. And then many, many weeks later, I finally caught the raccoon. I decided to catch the raccoon. Got it. And the people from the county picked it up for me, actually, and it was over. And that's very similar. Persistence, I bring that up because we are next.
Because we've caught a neighborhood pest, finally?
I wouldn't say that. I want to say persistence because our guest today, I feel like I showed a lot of persistence in grabbing him, in getting him. So
get out of the cage.
I'm sorry to my guest, who I'm going to introduce in just a second. Comparing him to a raccoon or a pest, but obviously just busting chops here. And he has a perfect title on his Twitter page. I'm just going to read off that. Today we have host, critic, writer, producer, CEO of the Outlaw Nation. Voiceover artist at HCA, critics member, host of the Top 10, the Cinephiles, the Geek Buddies, Schmo Down champion. We have Mr. John Rocha on the show, finally. And John, welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Ben, for having me on. I think you got the story wrong. It was you that was the pest in my Twitter feed, constantly going, when am I going to get you on my show? And, me being unable with the scheduling issues to figure out a time until finally,
That's fair.
You caught me.
The analogy still works.
I caught you.
Who's the possum in this?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good question.
That must be you,
the title
Dave.
of this episode. Who's the possum?
Who's the possum? But obviously, just busted chops here. It's great to have you on. Obviously, as I said, you're on numerous podcasts, everything like that, voiceover artist. I know you're very proud of the Schmodown. I see the belt behind you. You're still reigning team champion. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Me and Dan Murrell, the founding father, still team champion. Still teams champions. I think because, of course, the coronavirus kind of helps us keep our belt because we haven't been able to defend it against corruption. That's our next defense. Mike Kalinowski and Chance all over again. But yeah, we are currently the team champions for now. And Dan is the singles champion. And I'm waiting. If I get a chance, if I beat Ethan Irwin next, I will have a shot at maybe dethroning Dan one more time.
Oh, man.
So I see what's going on here when you're on Twitter and people are, arguing about maybe should California lift the lockdown. John's on there saying we need to keep this thing going as long as possible.
What's everybody's rush? Come on.
That's how the Tampa Bay Lightning, they became defending Stanley Cup champions 2 years in a row because there was a lockdown. They won in '04, and then there was a NHL lockdown 04-05. So technically, they were 2 years defending champions. So
there you go.
You know, that's that could be your situation here. So
Yeah, we'll see.
it's a technicality.
Don't show Christian; he'll lose his mind.
Yeah.
John, I do want to say I'm a huge Cinephiles fan.
Thank you.
I would say I've listened to maybe 80% of everything you guys have put out, and it's been just a great thing for me to put on when I'm driving or if I'm doing something, just to listen to you guys break down a movie. So it is an honor for me to be able to talk to you.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
We're proud of that show, man. I mean, it's gone through a couple of iterations as we've developed our rhythm, our chemistry. I'm sure you guys have had the same experience with your show.
Yeah.
We had to figure it out. We go back and listen to the old shows, and we're just like, oh my god, we were done in an hour. Wow, how's that possible?
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so we've now slowly started to revisit some of the older episodes and redo them for the fans, which a lot of fans are asking us to do. So we're not just doing it out of hubris or some desire to be perfectionists. We just redid Raiders of the Lost Ark to
nice.
a lot of positive responses.
Yeah.
And so, it's a show that, Steve came up to me like years ago when I was already doing 7 different shows. And he's like, hey, I have an idea for this show. Will you come on and be on the show? And I said, I don't want to host it in terms of like the main host.
Yeah.
I don't want, like, if you want to do the work and you pay for it going on iTunes, then absolutely I'll be your co-host. I just don't want to host it because I'm already hosting so many shows. So I don't want that responsibility thrown on top of everything I'm already doing. So he was like, yeah, absolutely. He got all the mics and everything. So it started that way. And then I brought an audience to him because obviously nobody knew who Steve was.
Yeah.
So I brought the audience with me at the time that I had acquired through the Schmodown and Collider and other things. And they came with me to this. And many, many people have enjoyed that show. And a lot of people tell me it's their favorite podcast that I do. So it's great.
Yeah,
it's a very nice honor.
It's fantastic. You guys have great chemistry, and I'll be honest. I like all the old ones, and I think in general, not to just talk about the Cinephiles, but I love everything that's sci-fi. Everything you guys talk about the sci-fi, those are always my favorite episodes. And you kind of got me back into Star Trek, and I'm always telling Ben about Star Trek. So you got with I ended up watching all the original movies again. Here I'm watching The Next Generation on reruns, nights here and there. So that kind of like rekindled that love for me. I watched a little bit when I was a kid, and now I'm like a huge fan again, in part because of your guys' enthusiasm. The other episode I want to say too, maybe the most appreciative I am of an episode is the Civil War series.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm never going to watch that. And by you guys going through that and playing the audio and kind of walking through what was going on, I found that not only entertaining but also educational. So I loved it.
Yeah, that was one that Steve suggested, and I said this because we were texting each other about it because we were both watching it on PBS at the same time. They were rescreening it on PBS in Blu-ray, that HD cleanup they did one Sunday or Saturday afternoon. And I don't know who texted who, but we just were going back and forth about it and all. And one of us mentioned the fact that we should do it on, I think it was Steve, who probably was like, we should do it on Cinephiles as just to see what would happen. And I'm like, you really want to do all these episodes? And
It's ambitious.
I don't know if I can handle that, man. He's like, well, let's just do them 2 at a time, but keep it like short. And I was like, all right. And he did a great job of it. And we had a really fun time doing that. And a lot of people love that episode. So it's a good thing.
And you guys are going strong, man. Top 10 has been going for so long, and Cinephiles, and obviously the newer one, Geek Buddies. It's just and then the Outlaw Nation. So you said you had 7 at the time. Steve asked you, how many do you have now? Is it the?
Yeah, I probably have more now.
Oh, really?
But because they're on my channel, I can control when I do them and when I put them up and everything like that. And they're all YouTube shows that I have on my channel, but I strip the audios out and put them up, and because there's an Outlaw Nation podcast network as well. So everything that's on the Outlaw Nation, except for Geek Buddies, because that had already been its own podcast, I put into podcast form for people who are who want to just kind of take it along with them instead of watching it on YouTube. So
Sure.
and those are getting decent numbers. It's building. Like it's not as strong as the other ones, but it's just going to take time.
Yeah,
as
takes
I
time.
do more and more
Right.
content. Sometimes I want to run before I can walk, and it's just my thing, and so but I got to be patient and build up, and people eventually kind of turn to my stuff and see my point of view on things. So, it's just a matter of keep doing the work. And
Yeah,
keep
absolutely.
doing the product.
And it's one of the reasons we really wanted to have you on the show too is just because of your point of view on films, and we do have a exciting film to talk about today, which is There Will Be Blood. Real quick though, I know you're a voiceover artist as well. Do you have any projects you're currently working on, or that you can talk about?
Voiceover-wise, I've had people reach out. I'm doing some kind of like off the record voiceovers, so to speak, like non-union stuff. I'm getting paid for on the side, but just as favors to friends because they've got projects that they're creating and developing. But what I'm focusing on now is switching agents. I'm at William Morris Endeavor, and it's nice, but it's a big pool. And I think I need to move to a medium-sized pool. Now that I'm no longer at Collider, I kind of have more time to focus on doing all the different things that I do on my time frame and on my time schedule. And I have 24 hours every day to do them now. I don't have this responsibility of having to go up, drive an hour to the job, work the job, only do things at the job related to the job, and then have to drive home another hour to work on other stuff or go to a screening. So, in some kind of way, it's been a bit of I don't want to say a blessing, but one of the positives that have come out of that terrible situation in January is that I've kind of realized, there is time for me to do other things that can bring revenue into my world. So eventually there will be a switch to a new agent, and then hopefully booking more voiceovers, either commercial campaigns or animated series.
Yep.
And that's
Excellent.
There you
that's
go.
when I'll hit up Yuri Lowenthal, who is a very good friend of mine and I hosted shows with twice. I'll be like, okay, take me under your wing, mentor me into this position because I want to be able to do that too. So yeah.
Nice, very cool.
Now, I believe this movie was John's choice, no?
Well, I gave him some choices, and this is the one he picked. Yes.
Selected out of the pool. What else was on the list? Was it
I said The Master, I think. I don't know. I think I was obviously in
just
a
Paul Thomas Anderson?
Yeah, I was in a PTA mood, obviously.
Okay.
So and he picked There Will Be Blood, which I'm thrilled that he did because I feel like the last 5 guests I've asked if they wanted to do that, and they picked a different movie. So I'm glad we're finally talking about There Will Be Blood. We've mentioned it many times on the show, just never have gone in depth into
from a basket.
it. There you go.
I start walking around my house saying it like I'm insane.
Oh, you're insane. All right. Are you, John, are you a Paul Thomas Anderson guy?
Oh yeah, massively so.
Yeah.
I just, and it's funny. It's funny because it's this other. I know people love Boogie Nights. I actually don't have as much of an affinity for Boogie Nights as other people do, but I love this. There Will Be Blood. I love Punch Drunk Love.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of The Master, although it's not as strong as There Will Be Blood, which is why I chose There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
And I also really enjoyed Phantom Thread. I was one of those people that defended that film.
Us too.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed the hell out of that thing and saw it twice or 3 times in the theater because it was so fun. And when I had the chance to interview Leslie Manville at Collider for Deep Cut, my podcast, The Deep Cut, that was one of my, when they were pitching her to me, that was one of my responses on the email. I was like, I'm a massive fan of this movie, so I would love to have her on the show. And so we sat down for an hour. She was great and talked
She
about
was so good in that movie.
That was
Right? She's so good.
We didn't get to see it until we did our top 10 list of that year, and we didn't get to see it yet. It definitely would have been in probably my top 5 of that year. That was I don't know. I don't know what if it's Daniel Day-Lewis. I don't know if it's Paul Thomas Anderson, but anytime they work together, it's just mesmerizing. I don't
mesmerizing is the right word.
Yeah.
Also, the score in that movie is fantastic. The score in this movie is fantastic and done by the same guy, Johnny Greenwood, who just churns out great scores.
And then for some reason, this wasn't There Will Be Blood wasn't eligible to be nominated for the score because I forget. I just read it yesterday. Sorry, guys, but basically, it wasn't eligible because they used stuff from other movies, things like that. But yeah, this it won Best Cinematography, deservedly so. Obviously, Daniel Day-Lewis won Best Actor, deservedly so. Lost out to Best Picture in 2007 to There Will Be Blood, the Coen movie.
To No Country. You mean
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah. You said There Will Be
Oh,
Blood.
yeah. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. No Country. Yes. No Country for Old Men. Yeah. But yeah, I want to ask you about 2007 movies a little later. We'll get to that later. So yeah, you're a PTA guy. I have a confession to make. I've never seen Magnolia. That's the PTA movie I've never seen.
Yeah.
So there you go. Dave, have you seen that? I'm gonna call you out. Okay.
But I've never seen Boogie Nights, so maybe
Okay.
you can
There
do
we
that.
go.
Oh, wow.
Trade off.
Watching Boogie Nights. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
It doesn't seem interesting to me that I like when I hear people talk about it, they like it, and I read the description. I'm like, do I really want to watch this? I don't know, but maybe I don't
It's
know.
a fair question to ask yourself. Do I really want to put myself through this? Yeah.
But Magnolia is no picnic either.
Oh, true.
So
Very
I don't
true. The frogs.
know. Yeah.
so go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was just going to get into the movie. So if you had
Let's
another
do
thought, okay. So yeah, I mean, getting into the movie. I mean, obviously, I don't know if he had this inspiration, but right away, I'm getting Kubrick vibes.
Yeah.
with the mountain, the landscape, and then that screeching score sound. I'm not even going to try to imitate it. Maybe I'll put it right here in post. But
Yeah, it's like two different notes that
Right.
finally converge into one.
right, yeah.
Crazy.
And and that's what Kubrick always did. I feel like at the beginning of his films, kind of putting you in the mood for the movie, and getting you into that tone of the movie. And obviously, we have this bearded guy in 1898 digging for which I found out later, reading some Wikipedia articles. He was digging for silver, I guess. Yeah, so I mean, it cuts right to Daniel Day-Lewis, doing that. And then I also bring up Kubrick because it switches to him, after he's digging for stuff, and he's kind of like in this stance, drinking this mug, like in almost like a primal stance. And I feel like that's a nod to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like it's
That's a great comparison.
yeah, like it's I don't know. This is this watch, for the show.
Yeah.
Was the first time I noticed that. I was like, huh. I noticed the Kubrick beginning, and then this. Is this the Dawn of Man sequence?
Well, it could be because it's the dawn of what? Technology, the dawn of industrialism is all of this that happens with the oil and what it brings to that region and that area. You see that in the movie Giant, the classic Giant. One or two oil wells is nice, but what Jet Rink does is become a whole massive CEO of a large multinational corporation. So it's how quickly it can happen for you if you strike gold oil. And another thing that I think your comparison works too is because if you look, it's 14 and a half minutes before a word is spoken.
Yeah, I know. I did the same. I paused. I'm like, where are we here?
Right. It's 14 and a half minutes before Daniel Plainview speaks. Anybody speaks. But it's just like the opening of 2001. There's not a lot of talking at the opening of 2001. That's a Kubrick as well. So there are shades of it, and maybe it was his homage to Kubrick, because that kind of fits.
I think this time period is absolutely fascinating because you're in this weird transition period, right? You've got horses on one hand, then you've got a car driving by, and then in the houses there's electricity. Whoa. You don't imagine that there's a light that they can turn on, right? When you're watching this film, and they're sort of on the verge of something. To your point, John, there's about to be an explosion into the modern world, and here we are. I guess this is if we're just going to continue with the 2001, this is I found the bone, right? But I'm about to throw it up, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah,
crazy.
definitely.
And it switches. As soon as he throws the bone, obviously it switches to the future, and as soon as Daniel Plainview speaks, in essence, it switches to a new future.
Yeah, and that's what I like about this too, is this guy didn't just it showed him working in the dirt. It showed him actually working towards being a successful oil man, or so I appreciated that. But yeah, I mean, then obviously things happen later on in the movie, which we'll get to, that shows you what greed and all that can do.
Let me ask you this question: was the man made in that pit right there when he fell and broke his leg and dragged himself out? Was that who defined who he was going to be for the rest of his life?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's a great opening thing to witness for your protagonist, right? His determination is undaunted. What he wants to accomplish, he is willing to sacrifice anything and go through anything and literally crawl over a mountain to get there. And so you have this idea that immediately, without words, you immediately know that this is a very determined person to be a self-made man and is willing to endure any kind of hardship in order to get there. So he's not someone to be trifled with.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just when he falls down, even like he breaks his leg. Yes, he wakes up, but then he's like, he sees the silver. If I broke my leg, I would not be. I don't know what I would be thinking about. I'd be like, oh my god, my leg's broke. What do I do? Like, but he's just like, oh my god, look what I found. And then he's laying in the I don't even know what it was, but they're like weighing his silver and stuff, and about to pay him and stuff. And he's just laying there with his leg tied up, and he's just like, all right, I got my money. I don't care that I broke my leg. And I think that kind of explains his walk in the movie. Like Daniel Day-Lewis does this like limp thing, which is very very unique, walk and
it's
voice.
Also connected, if you look at it, to 2001, right? Because he's kind of walking like those apes at the beginning of the movie. He's almost like, by the end, when when he kills Eli, he's just like, he's just like walking. And you could almost say the bowling pin is like a bone. He's killing him with that bone.
Seriously,
right at the end, honestly.
Yeah.
Here we are. We're just gonna run with this for the whole rest of the show.
I mean, I think this is a shot-for-shot remake of 2001.
It is great for Daniel Day. I was noticing, like, wow, he's really. That's right. He hurt his leg earlier, and he's working this thing the whole way through, and it's degenerating. That's just to his credit.
Oh, absolutely. And and then we get to, this was in 1898, and then we get to 1902, 4 years later, when he's he's got a team of people digging for oil. They find the oil, and I love that shot of when he touches the drill and like holds up his hand and we have oil. Yeah. Just how excited he is. And then
doing
that's
the 5 symbol. I respect it.
Right, yeah. And he of course you would accept that. And then that's when HW comes in. A guy gets killed by the drill bit that falls down on him, and he kind of takes this kid.
This is my son, HW. I'm going to use him as a prop for the next 20 years.
Exactly. So, I mean, at first watch, maybe for some people, you might think like, oh, what a nice guy, just taking this kid in. He's going to take care of him. And there's no mothers in this world,
Right.
no.
Yeah, I noticed that too. There's only like a couple of women, and And do any of the women even speak in this movie?
Well, Eli's mother speaks,
right?
And
briefly,
Eli's
right?
sister speaks, but that's pretty much. And then the girl, that girl laughs the whole time off screen with when he's at the whorehouse with his brother,
right?
His brother,
yeah.
I put that in quotations.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. It's a good point. It's a very male movie.
Definitely. And then even when he's like, when they flash forward to...
Well, I wonder why I couldn't get my wife to watch this with me, by the way. I'm like,
oh my God, are you kidding? My girlfriend walked in and she goes, I fucking saw this thing. It is annoying as shit and it's so fucking long. And I was like, I know, Bubs. I know. It's just like, I don't know. I saw it once, never again.
Never again. They switched to 1911, and then to keep on that point, I was watching this on subtitles, and you hear when they're arguing with Daniel when he's saying like he's here to dig oil at that one town, that first town he's at. You see someone like say like you have no business talking, lady. So like I think I think that was purposeful to show just like the times and like how women were kind of not respected in that that time frame.
I do want to make a point though about what your girlfriend said, John, about it being long, because I remember this movie being shorter. I've seen it this is maybe my 5th time seeing it, but I haven't seen it in probably maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. It's been a while. I imagine it being, in my mind, I imagined it being a quicker movie. So if I do have a knock on it, I was engrossed in the first 14 and a half minutes of no talking. Yeah. But there's a period there, and I think where the movie really hits the gas is when HW gets hurt.
Yes.
but I would say between that silent period, or at least with no dialogue, and then when HW gets hurt, it does kind of struggle to find itself. You guys agree there? Or
I don't know necessarily. It's establishing the relationship between him and Eli, right? So that's a slow, methodical relationship, because they're asking you to do a lot of the work as you're watching it, right? They're not going to tell you that this guy is a charlatan. They're not going to tell you that Daniel Plainview hates that guy because he sees pieces of himself in that guy, but you can tell that the reason he rejects him in the way he does, the way he treats him the way he does, is because he hates that there's pieces of that kid in him. Because as megalomaniacal as as Eli is, so is Plainview to achieve what he wants to achieve. He's just less shameless about it and more intelligent.
And that's what you mean by he sees him in Eli.
There are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Basically,
I mean, they both want power.
Yes,
and they just have different ways of getting it depending on their circumstance. Daniel's smart enough to be able to pull oil off from the ground. Eli is able to convince a whole bunch of people that he's their leader and needs cash to support the church, so he can do whatever he wants to do, kind of a thing.
And that's the difference. Daniel is a self-made man. Eli is made off other people's successes. Eli rides the coattails of other self-made people so that he can exploit them for his own benefit, like we see with a lot of evangelical people. They just pick a flock and then, like, oh, God's speaking to me and blah, 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 and people just buy it. And certainly we saw that with both of them in that. But yes, they're both just as determined to succeed. One just is self-made, therefore understands the pitfalls of what he's going through, and the other one is so used to riding other people's coattails that he has no idea how to stand on his own 2 feet.
I want to ask you guys, both of you guys are men of faith, as I understand it. Not that we need to get super, super detailed here, but how do you feel about this depiction? It's not the first time in a movie where a preacher has been portrayed negatively. But I would like to just get your sense when you see I'm becoming more conscious of this stuff. Is what do you think of it when you see it? I think what the movie's doing is saying he's clearly a charlatan, and we're not supposed to assume that all pastors are charlatans, but he is. But on the other hand, other people might watch this and be like, oh yeah, that's just like those stupid church people. What do you guys think of that?
I think that comes down to a personal thing, doesn't it? If you're built to have that feeling about church people, then you've got your thing you can cite in the movie. Yeah. But like you, I look at it like this. This is one particular person who's in charge of this particular flock in this particular church in this particular small town, and he's this way. I don't think they're making an overall statement. I mean, I don't know if Paul Thomas Anderson is making an overall statement about religion, but if he is, it's a statement that's been made multiple times in multiple movies.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the novel way that you're doing it? And that's, if you're going to make a grandiose statement at this stage with decades of film behind you, you've got to do something unique and interesting. And I do like the fact that Eli is a sniveling little coward, but there is something about him that is in Daniel. And so there is pieces, and maybe that is Daniel's trying to kill that other part of himself, and he does eventually down the road. But like, that's what the connection is. And I don't really see it as an indictment on religion necessarily. I think it's an indictment on him as a person.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Yeah, I don't see it as just them speaking on religion or anything like that. It's just, what will this person do to get a head up? What will they do to get that $10,000 as Eli wanted, or $5,000 that Eli wanted?
How about that performance with "Get Out of Here, Ghost"?
Oh man, Paul, as much
dancing out the door.
As much as you despise the character, I think that's a credit to Paul Dano and his performance.
So
great. That's just so get out of here, Ghost, and then just like he just like almost sounds possessed when he's finished. It's just like, wow, yeah, that is some powerful stuff right there.
And apparently he took the job because he was cast originally as the other brother, Paul, right? Paul Sunday,
right?
He was cast as Paul, and then 4 days before the film was about to start shooting, for whatever reason, they didn't like the actor they had cast as Eli. So Paul Thomas Anderson asked Paul Dano to play Eli as well, and they adjusted the thing to be a twin story. But even though we never hear about Paul until all the way at the end after his first introduction, but yeah, so so the fact that he took the job to do this other larger part 4 days before they started shooting is pretty incredible, because Daniel Day-Lewis had been working on it for a year. on his character, and so going toe to toe with that guy, it must have been something.
I could imagine, and I think the audience doesn't quite know what's going on here when we see him again when Daniel goes out there with HW to go quail hunting.
Quail hunting,
and then I think it's Eli that shows up, and Daniel Day-Lewis just kind of gives him a funny look, like wait a minute, but didn't say anything.
And the to go on your point, Dave, of you feel like this doesn't take off until until HW. I mean,
the explosion.
I think it was important, to build up to that and to build up to the like John said with the relationships with Eli and everything, and to show also how deceiving Daniel can be, saying he's there to be quail hunting, and he wants to buy the land for quail hunting, and it has nothing to do with oil. And that's when Eli calls him out, like, oh, what about the oil? He's like, well, what about it? And then
that's interesting, because just the way Eli does his sermon, Daniel kind of does his own sermon where he gives his "I'm an oil man" speech.
Right. Yeah.
And it's rehearsed. Right. Yeah. I mean, most of it is, about half of that speech is something he gives to everybody, and then he changes it to wherever his location is. That's interesting.
Right.
That's what I'm telling you.
It's he's a salesman, just like when, he's, I forget who asks him, like, what faith are you? He's like, oh, I like all faiths, That's
the one that lets me drill.
Which book of the Bible is your favorite? Oh, I like all the books. I wouldn't want to choose one book. That would seem wrong, right? That's an easy lie of an answer. But that's the thing that you see with him. But once again, shades of Eli and Daniel, which drives him insane, I think, honestly. But they're both. That's something brilliant that Paul does. Is like you get so on board with Daniel, then you see Eli, and then you kind of look at Daniel in a whole different way, because you see the similarities between these guys and the charlatan nature of both of them.
Do you guys think he had a faithful upbringing? Because it seems like he's rejecting faith a lot, or is it just other people? I guess when he says, later I, see the worst in people or anything, but I was thinking, like, is it specifically faith that he's rejecting? It seems like that in this movie.
I think he's rejecting Eli's interpretation of faith.
Yeah.
Right. And like when he's slapping him around after that guy has died on the drill, and he says, "Where were you? You're such a faith healer. Where were you to give him his save him? Or where were you with my son? Why won't you give my son's hearing back if you're such a faith healer?" Blah blah blah. And then of course later when he has to take it's so great when he has to take the baptism, thanks to Bandy, and he's in there, and when Eli starts to slap him, he just starts smiling. Like, it's brilliant, because he's right. Because in that moment,
bring your Lord,
just get it over with. I want to get out of here. But like you see him like slapping him, and the whole time Daniel's just like, "Yeah, bring it on." And then when they put the water on him, it's like, because it's just him going. He knows it's a farce. It's all a farce. So he's just playing along because these people need to believe that he is what he's saved or whatever, so they can lie to themselves that the money they're making is somehow pure because they participate in this farce of baptizing him.
I might as well ask this question now then. Do you, in that scene, which I had in my top 5, we did a top 5 show of best acting scenes, which was very obscure, but best acting scenes, and I had this in my list. I abandoned my child, I abandoned my boy. When he's saying that, is he feeling remorse for what he did to HW, or is he just irritated at Eli at that moment? What do you guys think?
I think he's feeling remorse.
Okay, that's what I've gathered too.
Yeah, we've seen him throughout the film. He does have vulnerability within him. He does have tenderness within him. He doesn't mistreat his crew. We never see him slap around his crew. He can be rough with his crew. He can be tough with his crew. But even when he's complaining to Eli, he's like, we can't have my men coming here and coming to your service because it's exhausting them and it's costing them time when they should be resting when they're working 12 hours a day at my whatever it is. Like, I want them to be rested, not coming here to the service. But that scene with the baby on the train when HW is a baby and he's like playing with his mustache or whatever, like, is very tender. When HW gets hurt, I mean, he holds him, he hugs him, and he holds him all night with the oil still covered. He doesn't even wash himself. himself. He's still covered in the oil, holding his son. He just can't deal with weakness. He cannot deal with weakness.
Right.
It is not within him, which is why he's such a complicated character to like. And if it wasn't Daniel Day-Lewis, I don't think we'd find him anywhere near as charming as we do.
Not even
No,
close.
you're right. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even call him a protagonist, especially, at the end of the film. During the film,
compelling man on screen.
I mean, during the film, we're, I guess, kind of rooting for him in a way, but at the same time, yeah, he's kind of despicable. But yeah, I mean, to your point about showing tenderness, I mean, even at the end when, he kind of disowns his son, who's now his competition, he even says, Paul Thomas Anderson does like a flashback to when he's actually playing with Eli and the girl, the Sunday girl, and so it shows that yes, there was love there. There was definitely feelings and heartfelt moments with them. So
I'd like to go back just a bit.
Yes, let's go back
and say, I think there's a possible interpretation that this movie is a movie about a man who rejects God, and real salvation, because, and I'm not saying through the charlatan religion, but a man who actually has real opportunity to make things right in his life, and he spits at those opportunities.
Yeah.
It's not like call God what you want, but I think he has a chance at real redemption. And I kind of think that's what this movie is. I don't know if it's anti-hero, that's an overused phrase, but it's basically a guy who's been given all the opportunity to make things right and just says, no, I'm good.
Yeah. He takes weird stands of principle in moments and is unaware of how hypocritical his stances on principle are, considering how he is as a person. Exactly. So that's what I find that's fascinating about Daniel. Daniel Plainview is just about everybody else we may know in life. Some of us have the hardest thing looking at ourselves and seeing the hypocritical nature of ourselves because we go, no, I had the best of intentions when I was doing this. And it's like, yeah, but it was also self-serving, wasn't it? And so not a lot of people are willing to face them. And I put myself in that camp sometimes. It's really hard to see yourself reflected back in a certain way. And you're like, oh, wow, that's how it looked? Damn. And so you see that with Daniel, he is like when he stops Eli from doing the blessing on the well. Why do that? What are you why? Eli has, you swindled his dad out of that situation by being a quail hunter or whatever. you swindled his dad. So somehow you're now going to be upset that this guy wants to swindle other people. It seems such a weird stance to take when you have a reputation of doing the same thing.
Right. Yeah. And I think he's definitely a person you cannot tell me what to do. I am going to do my own thing. And I'm not going to lie. My wife will even tell you that I am guilty of that if you tell me one thing, I might do the other thing. But not as egregious as, what Daniel Plainview does. But
there's a little bit of Daniel Plainview in all of us, I think. He's that little devil inside of us.
I think it's stubbornness. I think that's what it is. And like you said, with the blessing thing, he had in his mind that he wanted to do it with the daughter Sunday. So I Mary, is that her? I feel bad that I
think it is Mary.
Yeah, Mary Sunday. He names the well after her. And then this is the first time we realized right after that, once he doesn't give the blessing, you got one death, which is the guy who dies from that drill bit falling down. Yeah. And then he what's the actor's name? He's Mance Raider. Mance Raider from, is that who it is? Yeah.
Kieran Hines,
Kieran Hines,
He he comes and Daniel's passed out on the floor drunk, like someone died. Did I know him? He's like all upset and he's like, where's the bit? Like asking where the drill bit is, like making sure that's okay too. Right. But yeah, this is right after the blessing. So someone dies. And then shortly after that, that's when the whole oil rig catches fire. And that's when HW loses his hearing. And that's when, even him, he's like looking at, I'm just going to call him Mance Raider the whole time. He looks at Mance Raider and says like, what are you pouting about? Where there's a whole ocean of oil under us. Like that's what he's concerned about. His son is hurt and is over there, deaf.
He's kind of thrilled in that moment,
right?
To be honest,
at this. Granted, he was, first worried about his son, But then
He was.
he realized the greediness kind of took over in that moment, I think.
Well, it's also fascinating to think about the stages of his success. Every single stage of his success is accompanied with the death of someone who works for him or with him, right? I mean, what's interesting about the first 14 and a half minutes of that movie is when you see his connection with HW's dad, that guy is essentially, like, literally his silent partner, because he never says a word, but you can tell from the acting from both Daniel Day-Lewis and the guy who played that guy, who's the father of HW, the actual biological father. You can tell they have an understanding with each other, and that guy's just as tough as Daniel. And so, when he takes on the kid, it's almost like in honor of this guy who had been by his side for that 4-year time jump that we go through. It feels like that guy has been essentially his partner in this business. So he dies. Then he jumps into this new well. That guy dies, right? The guy that worked for him. So everything, and HW gets hurt. Everything is accompanied with these casualties or these injuries that affect people's lives. Because he won't stop.
Point. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I mean, and then he hurt his leg to get out of that pit. I mean, every step of the way, there's a physical cost. Outstanding point.
Yeah. So maybe it's what you were saying here earlier, Dave. This idea of it's a man rejecting religion. I think it might be a lesson of Paul Thomas Anderson of what you really have to endure in order to achieve this success. And what you have to, and will you really be happy once you achieve this success? Because he ends up completely alone. His whole family has abandoned him. He's only left with some old butler taking care of his stuff. And he's shooting stuff in the middle of the hallway. So he's lost. He's just lost, right?
He gets a chance at real forgiveness. HW shows up, we're skipping ahead. HW shows up there, and this is like, you can be absolved in a sense, just to give your son some good grace. And he says, fuck you, basically.
You're a bastard in a box. He does all that. Oh, by the way, I read he patterned his voice and speech pattern after John Huston. He wanted to essentially imitate John Huston.
Oh, that's so obvious now.
Right. You can hear it.
Chinatown, right?
Yeah, from Chinatown.
Man. It's so unsettling. I'll give you just an example of how unsettling it is. Not just me walking around my house doing imitations, but during the movie, my dog would not avert her eyes from the screen. She was suspicious of the TV, just because of his voice.
That's insane. That's wow. Yeah. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, obviously we got to talk about him. I mean, he's just it's amazing. I mean, it's just it's unheard of what he can do. It's so effortless, but yet so mesmerizing. Even it's when amazing. Even in Phantom Thread, I mean, it's him just, I think, doing his normal voice. Like, I think it's one of his first movies I've seen him do his normal voice. And
Ben, I think we said, just to jump in just really quick, just me and you said, who would have thought we would have loved a movie about a dressmaker? I mean, that's we freaking loved it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just, he's just so mesmerizing, and you can just tell how he plays off the actors in this. There was a specific moment I was going to bring up where he's playing off of Paul Dano, but yeah, if you watch the film, you can see him some scenes. Obviously it's scripted, but you can tell that. You can tell when an actor's playing off another actor, and he does that so well. It's like I said, effortless. And so his I want to mention his brother showing up, who I forget the actor's name. I know he's in The Mummy.
Benny, right?
Yeah, he's he shows
Sorry,
up.
I don't know. I think of anything else.
and this is when we get the famous, I have a competition in me. I see the worst in people. He's just, I don't see people, I see nothing liking in people, which is just so, like, this is when we finally get the real side of Daniel Plainview.
Yeah. And I'd like to pose a question to you guys, because I think one of the things you imagine about this film is the idea of greed, right? I don't think Daniel Plainview cares about money at all. I think Eli is greedier than Daniel Plainview. I think Eli wants the cash. I think Daniel doesn't really care. He just wants to dominate people.
Yeah, he just wants to win. I mean,
Yeah.
that's he meets with the people at, what is it? Standard? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Standard Oil. Oh, no, Standard Oil is the people. Yeah, right. When he's like,
Yeah.
because he goes with Union Oil, but it's Standard Oil who are his nemesis in a way. Yeah.
Right, yeah, he meets with them and they say, I'll give you 150 for the Coyote Hills place, and he's like, all right, deal, what's next? And he's trying to buy the Sunday place, and he's talking about his son. You can now, you'll be a millionaire, you can take care of your son, and he takes it as, you're telling me how to take care of my family, how to run my
Right.
family. No, all right.
I think, John, you were hinting at that earlier too, about you can't say anything to this guy, basically.
And,
Yeah.
and I think that hits on your point, Dave, of he doesn't care about money. He cares about winning. Like he says to his quote unquote brother Henry, I have a competition in me. He wants to win. That's what it's about for him.
I think for a lot of people who do achieve a certain level of success, it is about winning, which is why when they get there, they're almost right. Is that great line in Die Hard when what's his face is saying that Hans Gruber is saying, they say, for Alexander wept for he had no more worlds to conquer. Right. It's that kind of thing. Some people really have this desire in them, a competition within them to achieve and to succeed at the highest level of whatever they choose to do. But once they get there, if it gets removed from them, then they don't have that purpose that they had before. Like, that's why Daniel ends up like the old dude with the sweater on shooting shit in his hallway, because he's there are no other battles to win. There are no more battles to fight. So he's a warrior without a war, and he's lost, and so that's why at the end, that battle with his son is just him working out his muscles again, finally someone's insulted me. I can go after them with vigor. But then, of course, he has that remembering of everything and feels the loss of HW for real. But yeah, he's driven. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he gives a shit about money. I think Eli equates money with power and success, which is why he comes and cries to Daniel at the end when he says, I didn't know that the stock market was going to sink us and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, because you're stupid. You've always been stupid. You're stupid, Verbal. You've always been stupid, because, you don't understand how to make money because you've relied on other people giving you money. You've never earned the fucking money. And so there's a difference,
Yeah.
Oh, Daniel, there's been troubles. John, to your point, though, about the people like that live in our world, aren't these just undiagnosed psychopaths who should be locked away and not be allowed to do anything in our society?
Well, here's what I'll say. He's a psychopath because he acts on the feelings, right? I think there are many sociopaths who are in power who don't act on the desire to kill. Psychopaths act on the desire to kill. And that's what he has, because he does kill his fake brother. He kills Eli at the end, and God knows who else he's probably killed in his past to achieve what he's achieved. So, yes, he's a psychopath. There are some people who are sociopaths for sure, and you could call them indirect psychopaths because their policies, or the way they run businesses cause other people to die from certain things, especially if they own property and have tenants and they're mistreating their tenants that lead to deaths or lead to illnesses from those tenants, from mold or asbestos or what have you. They can indirectly be psychopaths because they only see humans as numbers on a ledger. They don't see humans as real people. Yeah.
I mean, I get the sense from you, John. I mean, I've listened to now hundreds of hours of you talking. Actually, now that I think about it, but we are talking, and I know Ben's a great friend of mine. It's we just want to kind of live our lives and make enough money to be comfortable. I don't want to dominate anybody. I don't want to screw anybody over. That mentality to me is completely foreign, and it's fascinating to see on screen, but it does make me a little uneasy.
You stole the words out of my mouth. Yeah, when you said it's nothing we want to do, but it is fascinating to see on screen. I mean, even when you watch violence on screen, it's you see someone kick the shit out of somebody. It's I don't want to do that to anybody, but it's pretty badass to watch.
Right. You live vicariously through that. Of
right,
course.
exactly.
But that's the thing when you look at and I'll make this a little quick analogy to the Schmodown, right? People ask me all the time, Dan Murrell is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. A lot of people believe that. I believe that, certainly. But people ask me, don't you want to be considered the GOAT? And I don't have that desire. I don't have the desire to be the greatest of all time. I want to be one of the greatest, but I never want to be the greatest of all time, because that's a lot of pressure that you're always having to live up to, right? It's like those old Westerns where like, yeah, it sucks when everybody knows who you are, because every time you go into a town, someone feels they have to challenge you to see if you're the quickest draw or not. Right. But our friend Ben Bateman, he is determined to become one of the goats and so, in all respect to him, he has that drive. He has that competition within him to get to that spot. He wants that spot, and he thinks and he gives me always weird looks when I say to him, I don't want to achieve that. I'm cool where I'm at. My legacy is secure. I don't need to be the greatest of all time,
I can be Scottie Pippen. You can go be Michael Jordan.
Look, I'm cool being Rodman. I'll be honest with you.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I got paid and I got rings. What do I
just want a spot in the team. I don't give a shit. I'll be BJ freaking Armstrong or Bill Wennington. I don't
Scotty. Scotty.
Oh man! If you tune in to Last Dance on ESPN on Sunday, great show. So yeah, he ends up killing his brother because he finds out it's not his brother. He sends first of all, he sends HW away because HW sets fire to the bed of Henry. Because HW is jealous. Like, no, I'm in the family business, and now you're taking on this guy, and
a cry for attention too.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because I mean, it was clear to me that Daniel was rejecting him for getting hurt. I think that was going on. He saw him as basically damaged goods.
Gives him vodka and milk to go to sleep so he can go do his thing. It's like, wow, okay.
And people miss that when he first gets HW as a baby, he soaks the pacifier in liquor. So he develops that kid's desire for liquor from a young age.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to ask you guys about this whole bit here where they're doing the pipeline, the way this thing looks, the score, the imagery in front of you. I'm like soaking all of this in. I'm just like engrossed in all of this. I think they make surveying look like the coolest thing in the world. I want to do it.
Yeah. But Paul Thomas, again, this movie totally deserved to win cinematography, which it did, and it's part of that was those scenes of like you said, surveying, and obviously that scene of him like looking up at the flamed well. With oil all over his face. Beautiful shot. There's so many beautiful shots in this. But yeah, surveying never seems so interesting to me.
And I'll also, I love that too. And it, one of the tidbits of that is that one of those explosions, and maybe the HW explosion, they were actually shooting No Country for Old Men, a scene on the other side of the town in Texas. And they had to stop shooting the scene and come back the next day because the smoke was billowing from the explosion that they had shot on set for There Will Be Blood. And how ironic, both these films were neck and neck for Best Picture of the Year.
I know, that's what's crazy too. Yeah, I read that. I was researching for the show, and I read that too. And it's just it's crazy that first of all they're up for Best Picture at the same time, but they're filming at the same time too. I now I'm curious, like what scene in No Country for Old Men it was that they had to postpone. That would be interesting to know. But
Uh,
I would just love to find out if there was a bar fight between them sometime.
I asked them,
versus the cast of No Country.
Right, yeah. I mean,
There Will Be Blood would just destroy them, I think.
yeah, I wonder if
so savage.
Was Josh Brolin and Daniel Day-Lewis hanging out at a bar at any point, during this? Like, well,
Comparing notes.
Supposedly Daniel Day-Lewis stays in character, so that would have been a weird, experience.
He does.
Scare everybody.
I mean, obviously, he sends HW away, which is a sad moment. He has again. I'm
brutal.
When I first saw this, like a long time ago, back in 2007,
just going to talk to the conductor. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I thought like he was sending him away and like just leaving him there, but I realized that Mance Raider, again, I'm going to continue to call him that. Mance Raider was there to take him there, but it's such a sad moment. He sees, he realizes what's going on, and it's just like wow, and then that's when him and Henry meet with the Standard, which we already talked about. And then he finally they get to the ocean and everything. Daniel starts to open up a little to Henry, talking to him about the childhood. Like, let's talk about the house a little. What was that? What was that house all about? And
Take him to
Henry,
the Peachtree dance.
yeah, Henry doesn't really have an answer, and
That was the moment. The Peachtree dance was the moment.
Yep. Yeah, he's
And
like, why are you hesitating?
Right. And look, and Ben, when you look at Daniel Day-Lewis's face in this scene, that's a masterclass in acting. He absolutely goes from, he didn't know it. Oh, why doesn't he know it? Wait, why doesn't he know it?
Right.
Why? What the? Has he been like the slow dawning on him that this guy's been lying to him the whole time, and then the disappointment in his face.
Right
at the end. That's the last emotion, is the disappointment in his face. Once again, even a fake member of his family, has let him down. Right, because he opens up about how he left his dad, he left his family. He had a desire to go and be on his own, because obviously that was a tough house to grow up in.
Right.
And so he wanted to make his own way. So to have even a fake member of the family faking to be him, disappoint him and let him down and lie to him, it's just like it's another destruction of this dude. The second he puts himself out, someone hurts him. And so that's why he's built that defense, that wall around anything that is resembling weakness.
And he opened,
incredible.
like you said, he opened up to this guy saying, I see the worst in people, and all that. So, I mean, he totally opened up to him. But yeah, you're right. That just facial expression acting is just amazing in this. Like you totally see what he's thinking, and then he shoots him in the face. And back then, guns weren't.
What are you gonna do at that point?
Yeah, I mean, you might as well just shoot him in the face. Back then, guns weren't powerful enough, so we get to watch him dying after.
He wasn't sure. Do I got to shoot him again in the head or what? It's like, oh man,
let's watch him suffer. So yeah, we get that.
That is such an amazing point, John. Yeah, that facial storytelling. Essentially, you get so much information on 3 looks.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
We already talked about abandoned my child, abandoned my boy, but right before that, after he kills his brother. What's his name? Bandy. William Bandy comes and says you got to repent for your sins.
He knows.
And I love. I meant to look this up. What this is worth in 1911. What it is worth today. But he says I'll give you $3,000 for your land, because he's trying to get him to go to church. And then he's like keeps talking to him about it. He's like, I'll give you $5,000. He's willing to pay $5,000, even which is a lot today, to not have to go to church. He's which I thought was just I don't know. I found it very humorous that he was willing to pay that much just to not have to go to church.
But once he realizes that he's not going to get out of it, this is very similar to him crawling across the ground with that broken leg. He's going to have to crawl on his belly in front of Eli. And so to Eli. So once again, him crawling through, his pride is not more important than the ability to be successful or to be the best at what he does in the competition. So he emotionally crawls across over a mountaintop with a broken leg when he goes to get baptized by Eli.
Right.
Yeah, humiliation is a big deal in this movie, right? Because we kind of get it both ways. Daniel has to go through it, and then later Daniel puts Eli back through it. This is a long-term revenge story, just waiting.
You might not know this, but men are pretty fucked up, man. So humiliation is a big tool in the toolbox of man.
And it's great because I imagine, if Daniel Plainview was in his worst state ever, and he's in a coma, if Eli showed up in his face, he'd be like, "Whoa, my turn now." And find a way to put Eli in his place.
Still here, Eli.
And I definitely think that first slap from Eli was real. I think he really slapped Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
That was, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was hard.
I think both of them have talked about it, because that was a real slap. And also when he drags Eli by his hair through the dirt when he slapped him about his child, that actually is a real thing. He really was doing that, and Dano went with it. That was him improvising the scene or whatever. And Dano, when he's screaming high-pitched squeal, it's so perfect. Yeah, so
it really is.
both of them, they put a lot through each other. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that pretty much brings us to obviously that whole thing, and I mean once he builds the pipeline, I mean that's his victory. He built the pipeline, and now he doesn't have to
Just
pay
take
for
it to
shipping
mass
costs.
riches. Yeah.
But it brings him no peace, doesn't it? Because he sees the dudes when they all walk in right after HW's come back. They're all sitting around the table, and he just can't resist, jabbing at them. And he still needs their attention. That's the thing. He always feels lesser than, so he compensates by doing these larger gestures, these more, aggressive, challenging, chest thumping things. Him putting the napkin on his face and imitating the dude, there's no reason to do any of that.
Right.
Him getting the drinks. We order the drinks first, blah, blah, blah. There's all of that. And that's obviously a person who's never seen a therapist in his entire life. and so much so when they keep ignoring him and then kind of make slight conversation about him under their breaths, he walks over to the table to antagonize them because he's like, you're not going to ignore me. He's like Alex in Fatal Attraction. I won't be ignored, Dan. He walks up and so he purposely tries to embarrass them.
I will have to say though, I mean, he was right. He ordered his drinks before, He ordered his drinks before. He needed it first, It's like,
gotta stick to your principles.
That's true. Fair point.
Even if you would completely embarrass your son and make an ass out of yourself.
Exactly.
You gotta do it. It goes to the point. It's still hilarious, right? Like maybe if it's not my dad, I'd be like, "Oh, kill me." But if it was someone else's dad, I might laugh, kind of a thing. You know?
Right.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that scene is great. I mean, it's just again, like I said at the beginning, I mean, this movie is just so mesmerizing. I mean, even his signature at the beginning when he's signing for the silver, that's mesmerizing to me. Like the way he's signing his name. I think
the most compelling human being who's alive, basically. Right. Is what we want to say.
And so yeah, I mean that's basically I mean then we get to where HW marries the Sunday.
This is
girl.
beautiful, right? This is like less than a minute, right? And it's like pulling at your heart. Yeah. And then he confronts Daniel, and I don't know how you guys felt. I was alone. I got tears. I like this confrontation this breaks me completely down.
Mm-hmm. HW is such a nice kid. And despite that environment he grew up in, he turns out to be a genuinely nice person, right?
Yeah.
And so what he's going to do in Mexico is just to kind of essentially do what Daniel did, was to become his own man. And Daniel should be encouraging of him that, you can say he's pulling himself up by his bootstraps. He doesn't want to live off what Daniel has already made. He could be one of those, rich kids who just lives off the money, he doesn't give two shits and treats people like dog crap because he has no concept of how to be human. He wants to go and build his own land and build his own namesake, his own legacy. And why isn't Daniel supportive of it? It's so confounding to see him in this moment piss away the chance to repair all the damage that he had done to HW in the past. Yeah.
Yes, he's like, Dad, I want to do this thing. I basically saying, we had our problems, but let's just move past this. Here's our real chance, to make things right in our lives, and that just tears me apart.
Yeah.
And then Daniel just says, no, fuck you. Great.
Basically.
Yeah. And
because he doesn't have the emotional vocabulary.
Yeah, and making him actually say the words, don't have your puppet talk for me and all that. Just
so cruel.
Yeah,
this cruelty has no bounds, but it's still hilarious.
You have everything. You have everything you ever wanted. You built this empire. You're shooting guns in your hallway in your mansion, and it's just he's still miserable. He's still a miserable old fuck. Is essentially what he is.
We see that with a lot of people who achieve success in life. They end up becoming miserable old paranoid fucks.
Yep.
And, a lot of us end up having to work for fuckers like that. And that's the worst. It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst because you're just a subject to their ADD whims because they're the ones who hold the money and sign your paychecks.
Right.
So you have to go along with their lunacy and their stupidity and their weird ideas for things, and you just because I gotta pay my bills, and so it's an interesting thing in the world, man.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. Now we get Eli showing up. Oh, things have been really good, Daniel. I'm on the radio. And then that devolves really quickly. That story doesn't check out. And then we get drainage.
It's the best. The milkshake, that'll never get old for me, that milkshake. Never, ever.
I just love that he's like, will you buy the Bundy Ranch? And he's like, okay, yeah, just, denounce your faith, say you're a false prophet, and God is a superstition. And, he reluctantly says it at first. Daniel makes it say it louder and louder and louder. Finally says it passionately, and then finally Daniel's like, okay. There's no more oil in that land. It's dry.
What about this for Eli? Because and we know he's a greedy bastard and a fake, but this was a big. He wasn't. I don't know. I don't want to. I mean, was he? Do you believe a little bit? Was he 100% a fraud? What do you guys think? But this seemed to really tear him down, even though there was no witnesses.
I don't think there's a moment he believed in God. Not one fucking moment. I mean, and when he crawls across the table to attack his father in that scene, that tells you like this guy there's no principle, there's no morals, there's no religion guiding this guy. The only thing that's guiding this guy is his sociopathic ego to achieve success or the illusion of success at by any means necessary by begging for money. Like that's all he's done the whole life. He's essentially a bum. Or begging for money. I don't mean bum as a homeless person. I mean a bum as a person. He's begging for money to achieve whatever he wants to achieve in life and doesn't want to work for it. And so when he comes to Daniel, I mean, imagine what it would occur to him mentally to go like, you know who I should go see? Daniel Plainview. Like, why would that ever occur to you unless you've exhausted every possible option to get money from anybody else that you have to go on your hands and knees. And once again, this is him crawling to Daniel. So this is Daniel's victory. He wins 2-1, in my opinion. He wins 2-1 here. And then, of course, to add insult to injury, mentions his brother, who was just fine, apparently. First we heard of it, making, $5,000 a month with his two wells. And so the insult to injury on top of it throughout this scene is just, it's glorious. If you've ever wanted to have revenge on somebody, it's a glorious revenge.
It really is.
So yes, exactly. That was my question. And so this is literally just Eli being humiliated in front of Daniel. It had nothing to do with any of his prior beliefs. Agree 100%. Yeah. And then so and this is a question. Daniel tells Eli that I gave Paul 10,000 and he's making 5,000. Like, we never saw this. This happened off screen.
Yeah, off screen, right?
Yeah, because this is news to everybody here.
Yeah. You're the afterbirth.
Swiveled out of mother's filth or something.
Do we believe Daniel? Did he actually give him 10,000?
I don't know. He's the only one who's reporting back about it, so we kind of only have to believe him. I'll turn around and ask you guys a question. Did it shock you the first time you watched it that he killed Eli? Because in your mind, yes, he killed his fake brother, but that's something else, right? And he even it seemed like he felt bad about it even as he was doing it. He was heartbroken about it. But with this situation, it was almost surprising when he hits him and he knocks him out, because he just waits for a second and then, absolutely participates in the kid's death. He decides, right, that's murder. Right. Yeah. As soon as it's in, that's murder. And so he's looking and does it, and then he says, I'm done. And so you're just like, well, is he a protagonist? And that's when, in that moment, you're just like, well, I don't think Eli deserved that death. He's a sniveling little shit, but he didn't deserve that. And so you're like, whoa, wow, such a strong statement. Did it leave you changed about him as a person after he did that?
It was a little. I didn't expect it. I really didn't. I didn't think he would just cold-blooded murder him in cold blood. It did change, and I'm thinking I'm done. Like what? Like I'm done with my life, or is I'm done with my meal? Come collect it and take it away. Right. What is he saying there? I'm done. I don't know. This is dark. It's very dark. Ben, what do you think, buddy?
Did
it shock you?
Yes,
I
was shocked when he did it the first time I saw it. Yeah. And I'm still wondering why he did it in the first place. It still doesn't make sense. I think it's just all the you kind of see the facial expressions from him during the whole movie, just like kind of just like, I hate this guy. Like, when he comes to visit him about saying, can I give the blessing? He's like, okay, you can give the blessing. What time, and then Eli says like, what time would you like? And then, or what time will it be? And Daniel's like, well, what time would you like it? He said 4 o'clock. He said, all right, 4 o'clock it is. Like, he's just trying to get rid of him, get rid of him the whole movie.
Maybe to bring it really simple, is Daniel Plainview is the devil on my shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually, we have a tweet here. I think it's actually a response to one of your tweets, John.
Well, I will say, while you find it, I will say my theory is that I think he killed him because Eli is, as I said at the beginning of the when we were talking, Eli is a weakness. He reflects a weakness to Daniel, that Daniel has that weakness to be megalomaniacal like that, and Eli is a representative of that. So just like he sent away HW twice on the train, and then when he sends away this bastard in a box, he's sending him away twice. He is killing Eli as well because Eli reflects his own weakness back at him. And so he can't handle that, so he must kill it. So when he says, I'm done, it could mean any number of things. It could be, like you said, it could be done with the food, or it could be done like this was his final competition, final thing he needed to win, his final contest. So maybe he's done, he'll probably die of a heart attack that night, or he's done like, that's it, I'm never moving from this spot again. I quit life. So any number of things.
It's funny because no one else really sticks in his craw like this
like
stupid kid, right?
Well, and that's interesting too, because I mean, the two people that he kind of felt attached to weren't actually his family. Henry, wasn't actually his brother, which he found out, and HW wasn't actually his son.
Right.
But
did you get that tweet, Ben?
Yeah, I got the tweet. Again, they were responding to your tweet about because you had said how Eli Sunday is disgusting. Chris Hanratty said, I love how there is no protagonist in the movie. Pretty much everyone is awful with the exception of the children, which is very accurate. Felipe Hunt 21 said, Eli is the typical religious spokesperson who is a contradiction of everything he preaches. Reminds me of way too many evangelicals these days.
Okay, so that was context of my question earlier. Yeah. I mean, my takeaway from watching this movie is Daniel Day-Lewis is amazing, but if there is a lesson to be learned, is don't reject forgiveness, don't reject anyone who's offering something, any kind of redemption to you. That's my takeaway here, even though I love watching the man reject it because of this compelling. That's kind of my that's my main thought. I love this movie so much.
Yeah. Definitely. And real quick, I want to read an email from Sol Abel. Oh my goodness, Abel Yarrow. He's from Argentina, so I really wanted to read this tweet. He said, "Hi guys, I heard you're doing an episode on There Will Be Blood episode. I was always intrigued by Daniel's phrase, 'I drink your milkshake,' which we haven't even brought up yet. At the end, I recently did some digging and found that Anderson took that quote from an actual speech by a Secretary of Interior during an oil scandal. I thought you might find that interesting. Thank you, and lots of love from Argentina, Sol." Thank you,
great
Sol.
job there.
Appreciate
Also
that.
borrowed from Brother from Another Mother, if you didn't remember that.
Oh, yes. I'm your brother from another mother.
Yeah, that was weird when he said it's almost anachronistic. You're like, wait, what?
Right.
I know. Who said that? Yeah.
He almost wanted his hat to be turned sideways. But he said, that's right. It's from the Teapot Dome scandal. Anderson was reading through the whole transcripts of it all, and when he saw milkshake, he was upset that a senator, I think it was, or a oil man would try to use the word milkshake or try to compare it to like a milkshake. He thought it was offensive, and so he wanted to put that in the movie. And he said he smiles every time he watches it and hears it in the movie. So it's brilliant.
Good stuff. So, hey, we have fans in Argentina. I'm happy for that.
Ben, you were mentioning 2007 movies. Did you want to hit that before we?
Let's real quick. John, you said this was your best picture of 2007 in a tweet.
Yes.
Obviously, No Country for Old Men won the Oscar for it. So
this was a hell of a year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking, there's the movie Once. You can go to Into the Wild. I mean, these are just like low key movies, and we know all the other ones. We've got, I don't know, I'm here on IMDb. 300 came out in 2007. Even the first Transformers wasn't all that bad. I mean, this was an amazing year for film.
Yeah. I mean, Zodiac is this year, 2007.
Yes.
Assassination of the Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford
Haven't
is
seen that
2007, which is an incredible film.
I need to put that one. It's on my list. I haven't gotten to it yet.
Please. Gone Baby Gone is also 2007.
Yes.
The 310 to Yuma remake is 2007.
Love that movie.
There's so much here to enjoy in 2007 for sure. There's a lot of great movies.
Do you like No Country for Old Men, John?
I do. I think that movie has grown on me as I've gotten older because as a man getting older, and it's been 13 years since that movie came out, which is kind of mind blowing, just like There Will Be Blood. But like I start to connect more with Sheriff Tom as I get older, like what he's talking about, what he's experiencing, and what that conversation he has with his wife at the end, about his dreams. Like that's so fucking powerful. Or the conversation he has with his uncle there in his house,
Right? Yeah.
Say, ain't nobody waiting on you, man. Ain't nobody owe you a damn thing. And you're just like, man, whoa. You're just like, it's mind blowing. And then when he says, like, what good did I really do? Crime still happens. People still going to do this shit. I was just doing a job for as long as I did, and then someone else is going to take my job, and I'll have no legacy to leave. So it's really powerful to watch that movie now.
Definitely. And I think my most rewatchable film of 2007 though is Superbad. That's just a comedy that I fall asleep to many nights. So
great movie.
Yeah, good stuff. But John, it's been a pleasure having you. Real quick though, we do a rating system on our movies. It's in regards to stars and buckets of popcorn. Stars being the quality of the film, and buckets of popcorn being the entertainment value. So like Avengers Infinity War would be like a 5 popcorn.
Yeah, we're 1 out of 5, no halvesies.
1 out of 5, no halvesies. So one out of 5 stars. What would you give There Will Be Blood on a quality value? And 1 out of 5. Okay, 5 stars.
Not even a question.
Okay,
it's a classic. To me, this belongs on TCM. It's that good of a damn movie. It belongs on TCM already.
And then buckets of popcorn, entertainment value.
1 to 5, right?
Yeah, 1 to 5.
I would have to say probably 4. Not quite 5, although it is entertaining. It is slow. And so for some people, I don't think it'll be as entertaining as you like. But if you're a cinephile, I think it'll be as entertaining as a film like this can be or can get. And so I say 4 out of 5 buckets of popcorn.
That's one thing, I never thought of is do it to a scale on a cinephile level. Yeah, because, buckets of popcorn could definitely be different for cinephiles. Dave, what would you give it?
In terms of stars, I'm going to be right with the great John Rocha on 5 stars. However, I am not a cinephile. I get bored easily. My attention span has been waning as I move through. Anything more than an hour and a half, I start getting bored and fiddling with my phone. It's really difficult, John. So I'm going to understand. And despite what you guys said, I'm still not sold that pocket between the middle, like 14 and a half minutes to when HW hits that crash. I know what was going on in building it, but I thought it really, really did struggle. So in terms of popcorn, I'll just give it 3. So 5 stars, 3 buckets of popcorn. Ben, what do you got, buddy?
I got 5 stars as well. Obviously, I mean, this is a masterpiece, technically, acting wise, and just everything. Buckets of popcorn. I'm more. Average moviegoer, I would say 2.5 buckets of popcorn.
Most regular people don't like this movie,
right? Yeah,
I mean, you're going to be like, check this thing out. They'll be like, what the fuck is? Why would I want to watch this?
Right.
That's why I make it relative to how I view the movies.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, on a cinephile scale, I could see it being a 4 or a 3.
What about just on a regular Joe scale?
I think regular Joe's 2.
Yeah.
If that. I'm sure regular Joe is turning out at 1 hour. What what the hell? There's another hour and 40 minutes of this? I can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, John. I'm glad to finally have you on. You're welcome back anytime. Would love to talk movies with you again.
We will corner this raccoon within the next couple of months.
Yeah, I know. I had a blast. Thank you guys for having me. I'm glad we finally made this work after multiple attempts to try to schedule something. So, I think this was the perfect movie to do it with, and I had a blast with you guys. Yeah, I would love to come back. Please, I would love to.
Certainly. I wish you all the best, John.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, that is it for us. You can follow us on iTunes, review us, rate us, everything like that. I am at BCcord, at BlockbusterCast is our Twitter. Where can they find you, Dave?
You can find me at Dave_Quist. And John, where can they find you in your 1,000 shows?
I didn't want to seem to be rude and put my stuff in it, but thank you for asking me. You can follow me. You can follow me at the Rocha Says, ROCHA, on Twitter and on Instagram. That's my homage to The Rock, who's one of my favorite wrestlers. The Rocha Says that The Rock says. And of course, you can please come and patronize the YouTube channel. Come and subscribe. That's youtube.com/John Rocha Says. Please go and subscribe. See all the content. We talking movies, entertainment, professional wrestling, sports, the Geek Buddies. It's all on there, having a good time. And if you want to donate to the Patreon, that's patreon.com/John Rocha, and see all the multiple tiers. I'm about to jump off here and go spend about an hour with my patrons on camera on Blue Jeans and have a fun conversation with them about what's going on in their worlds. Yeah.
Sounds great, John. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. All right,
folks. Well, that is it for us. For Dave and John, I'm Ben. And as always, grab some popcorn, grab some snacks. We'll catch you guys
at the movies.